In this video tutorial, what I want to show you is how to set up WordPress so that it runs off of your computer, the local host setup. And this will be for Windows. I'm going to do a separate one for Mac. I work off of a Mac, but right now I've got Parallels up here so that I could show you how it would work on Windows. So the first thing we need to do is we need to install the WAMP server, which is the one that I typically use. So I'm just going to type in WAMP server into Google here, and it's this first result right here. And I'm going to head over to download. And it's going to give you two different options, 32-bit, 64-bit, just depending on which one is for your computer. If you have a 64-bit, you might want to use this one, but otherwise I think everybody will be okay with the 32-bit. It's going to give you a few different warnings, but the download link is actually a little hard to find. It's right here. It's going to take us over to the SourceForge website. And then we should get a pop-up, or actually on my end it started downloading right away. So let me just pause the video while it's downloading. Okay, now it's finished downloading. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and open this file, hit run, go ahead and click next, accept the agreement, next, install it. I always leave it in the default C WAMP. And I do want a desktop icon so it's easy to find, and I can go ahead and install it. So let me pause while it goes through all that. Okay, and part of the installation, it's asking up here, please choose your default browser. I work typically with Chrome on my computers or Firefox. I don't want to use Internet Explorer as the default. I recommend you don't. So I'm going to look for where the Chrome browser is installed, and I can see here that if I went to Program Files, Google, Chrome, Application, and here's the Chrome. So that's the one that I'm going to use. Same thing would be for Firefox. I don't think I have Firefox installed on here, but you'd go to Program Files, look for Firefox, and just find the direct link that takes you to the Firefox. So I'm just going to choose Chrome and hit open. And it gave me an error right away that's saying that I'm missing a DLL. So let's just keep going, see if it's going to give me any issues. The first thing is this SMTP server stuff. You don't need to worry about that. You can just hit next, and then we can go ahead and launch WAMP server 2 now and hit finish. And it keeps on giving me this error. So if we go back to WAMP server, to the main page where we started the download, I remember seeing something that you needed Visual Studio, so maybe my installation doesn't have that. So let's just try to install that. I'm going to pick this first one here. And hit next. Hit run. Okay, so it's telling me right away that I picked the wrong one. So if I go back, need to pick this one, the x86. So I guess it depends on x64 is if you're doing the 64-bit version, and 86 if you're doing the 32-bit version. And I realize most of you may not even run into this issue at all. I just wanted to show it here on the video just in case you do. So I'm just installing this. Let me pause it while it goes through that. Okay, it told me that setup was successful, so I can go ahead and close this out. Now I can try to open up WAMP server again, see if it gives me the same error. So that seems to have fixed the issue. WAMP server should be running. If I come down to here to this right bottom hand corner and I look for the little W, see that WAMP server is there, and there's a few different changes we need to do before we even get it running. First, we go to PHP. Let's go to php.ini, and this is where we're going to increase the value. So just scroll down. It's usually around halfway or so. We're looking for, and you can do a find if you want to get straight to it. Just do Control F and it should take you, but I'm just scrolling so you see where it will be located. You're looking for this area that says resource limits. The max execution time, let's just go ahead and increase that to 99.99 just to be safe. The max input time, same thing, 99.99. And then finally the memory limit. I like to make this at least 3,000 megabytes, which is about 3 gigabytes of memory. It won't use that much, but at least I know I'm giving it enough. And if you can play around with this number, if you have a beefier setup, then you would be able to increase that and get more out of it. But I've seen it when it's working and it doesn't nearly go up that high. But now that we have that, we can go to File, Save. We can close that out. Let's go back over to the little W icon. Let's go to Apache modules, and we're going to look for the rewrite. Just scroll down and make sure the rewrite module is selected, and I see here that it's not, so let's go ahead and select that. And before we can go ahead and run this, we need to make sure that Apache actually installed correctly. We go over to Service. Let's go ahead and install Service. It's going to ask you to press Enter to continue. And if you have the firewall set up, it's going to ask if you can allow this. Let's go ahead and allow HTTP server to communicate both with private and public, just so that we can make sure we give it full access. Now we go over to Apache and Service, we should see that it's doing that. And let's go ahead and test port 80. Sometimes if you have Skype opened, it might interfere, so this will let you know. And it's saying port 80 is not being used, so that's a good thing. We don't want it to be used or else it's going to interfere. And then finally, we can go ahead and start all services. Notice that the icon turns to green. That means that the server is fully online. If we click on this and we go to localhost, we should see this page. This is telling us that the installation was successful, and now we have the local host. So now what we need to do is install WordPress to this installation, and I'll show you that in the next video. Now that we have the WAMP server installed, it's time to install WordPress. Now I'm giving you a file, a zip file that has WordPress already in it, but I've also included the S3Rpshak3R plugin and also a plugin that will allow you to make your sites live when it's time to push them live. So to install WordPress, let's just use that zip file because it's going to make the process a lot easier. The first thing we need to do is just open up the File Explorer here. That's the file that I'm going to give you is just going to be wordpress.zip. So let's just go ahead and copy that wherever you downloaded it, and we're going to go all the way to where we installed WAMP, which is, if you left it the way it came, it's C, local disk C, and then WAMP. We're going to go into the www folder, and we're going to paste that in there. Now once we're in there, we also want to go ahead and just extract that folder, so we can double click it and hit extract all files, leave everything as is, hit extract, okay, so this is the WordPress installation now. We're going to be switching back and forth with this screen a couple times. We now have all the files, but we need to go ahead and add a database for this WordPress installation to go into. So we go back over to this page here, this localhost, the main page, and we got to this, if you don't remember, by just clicking the little W icon, localhost, and it'll open it up right in our browser. I'm going to scroll down to phpMyAdmin. And here I'm going to click databases, and I'm going to create a new database. We can just call this one local install, or whatever you want to call it, but just make sure you remember what this name is. And it's telling me that local install has been created, so I'm going to copy this, because now we're going to go back over to this window. We're going to open wp-config. I'm going to right click, and I have Notepad++. You can just open it up with regular Notepad. I just like to work with Notepad++ in this kind of file, so I'm going to edit it with Notepad++, which is just another application. And what we're going to do is we are going to go to this line right here, line 19, where it says DB name. We're going to change that out, just whatever's in between the two little quotes. Delete that, and we're going to paste in the database name we just created, which was local install. Then for DB user, we're going to delete what's in there already. We're going to hit root. We'll just type in root, and this will be the same for everybody, no matter what you set up as your DB name. And then the password is actually blank, and this is for Windows installations. The password is usually blank. Once we do that, we can go ahead and go to File, Save, and we can close out of that. That's the only change we need to do there. Now if we go back over to the local host and we just type in localhost/WordPress and hit enter, we'll notice that we're going to get this WP admin installation. Now this WordPress part actually comes from the name of the folder. So if we go back over to the www folder, we'll notice that it created a WordPress folder. If for some reason you change the name of this folder to something else, then just make sure that you change the URL as well. But we're just going to go through the installation. Site title, we can just type in, local install. Username, just give yourself a username, and this information is actually going to be rewritten in the following step. So whatever you put on here is not gonna what it's gonna end up being, but just for something temporary, you can just create admin. I'm gonna do just a quick, simple little password. And an email. And we're going to hit install WordPress. Then it's going to ask us that we've finished the installation, and we can go ahead and log into it. And so now, in essence, we have a working installation of WordPress. Now, one little extra step that I'm going to do for you guys and gals is actually I'm going to give you, I've got an installation set up where I've already kind of configured things the same way that I would set up my own sites, and I've already loaded up some shortcodes for you so that you can get go ahead and get started without doing any of that. So I'm going to show you how to grab that and overwrite your current installation in the next video. In this video, we're going to take the site that we built on our local installation and push it live to the live host, to our server. And this could be done on shared hosting, dedicated BPS. This kind of, by building your site on a local setup, you get rid of the problems that a lot of people are having with timing out and whatnot, or if it's taking too long. So let's just say I've gone ahead and built out my site. I've got 100 posts here, but just did a testing thing just to make sure that I had some posts on here. So now we can go to the local host installation. We take a look. It says that 100 posts. Everything's good to go. So what we first need to do is we need to zip up the files that our installation is in. The way to do that is actually, let me close out some windows so it's not confusing. I can show you directly how to get there. But we need to zip up these files that this WordPress installation is using. So we go to, let's just open up File Explorer, and if you installed it in the main folder, it should be under C and WAMP. And if we go to www, we should find WordPress, and this is where that installation's at. So if we select all these files, we can just right click, select all. Actually, it's not letting me do that, but if we just hit just drag and make sure you grab all those files, right click anywhere, and we want to make sure that we send this to a zip file. So send to compressed zip folder. Basically, we're just trying to zip them up, and let's just name this WordPress.zip. So now we have another WordPress.zip file compressed folder. And what we're going to do with this zip folder is we're going to install it in the root of our website. And I'm going to assume that you already know how to add your website to hosting and how to get to the main cPanel account. So I'm already logged into the main cPanel account here for just a brand new domain that I purchased to be able to show you how to do this. But once you're in the main cPanel account, you go to File Manager. Let's make sure we're in the web root, and we do want to show hidden folders, and let's go ahead and click go. If it's a brand new site, it should be completely empty. We're going to hit upload, choose that file, and we're going to look for that WordPress.zip that we just created. So we go to C, WAMP, www, WordPress, and it should be right in there, WordPress.zip. Let's go ahead and open that up, and it starts uploading. And it's a small file, so it should upload fairly fast. It's only under 8 megabytes. It tells me that it's complete, so I can close out this window. I can hit reload, and here's the WordPress.zip. Let's just go ahead and extract that folder, extract files. We can close this out, and if we hit reload, notice that all the files and everything loaded up correctly. So we can get rid of this WordPress.zip, and let's leave this window, this tab open, because there's going to be a few changes we need to do to WP config. So let's go back to the cPanel main, and let's go to database wizard. Basically, we're going to have to create a new database for this WordPress installation to go into. So I'm just going to call this you can name this whatever you want, site. You can, the username and the database name can be both exactly the same. You don't have to switch it up. I'm just gonna generate a random password. Make sure I already have this in my clipboard, but let's just make sure copy, and let's create that user. And then we want to make sure we give that user all privileges on that database. And perfect, we created the user, we created the database, and it has full privileges. Let's leave this tab open. Let's go back over to where our files are at. Find WP config, right click, edit. We're going to go to the area. For right now, I have the password copied into my clipboard. So I want to make sure that I paste that in first before I forget it. So I'm going to look for the area that says DB password. Right in between the quotes, it should be blank. So, but right in between the quotes, we're going to paste that in. Jump over to the tab that has our database name and user. They're both exactly the same, so I can just copy it once. Back over to where we're editing it. Database name, so we're going to replace that DB name with what I have in my clipboard now. And then same thing for DB user. We're going to replace what's in there and paste this in. So I'm going to hit save changes. So now what we've done is we added the files, we created the database, and we made the changes to WP config so that it knows that it needs to connect to that database. Now if we open up a new tab, we can just visit the URL for the site, just the main URL. This is just the domain I just purchased, is localserpshaker.com. I can go ahead and visit it, and it's going to ask me to install WordPress. We're going to get that WordPress installation again, so we're just going to hit continue. Once again, the site title and everything, these are just temporary, so I can just do something real quick like test, username admin, password, password. It's going to say that it's been installed, so we can go ahead and click login. Go ahead and log in with the username and password you just created. This will be the only time we really use that username and password that we just created. And the first thing we're going to do is, this is going to seem very similar because it's almost what I showed you before when you pulled the database from my site, but now we're going to do a push. But the first thing you're going to do is just jump over to plugins. We want to activate that WP Sync database plugin. We want to, now under tools, you're going to find Migrate DB. We want to go there. We want to jump over to settings, and we're going to say that we want to accept push request. Basically, it's the same. We want to let other websites push data to our website. And this is just so that we can go to our local installation and push that database over to this website. Let's go ahead and copy this connection info that's right in here. And this is going to be unique to everybody, so this is just a unique key. We're going to go over to our localhost installation, and if you remember, we can just get there by going to localhost/WordPress /WP admin. So we're in the admin area. We're in the admin area. Make sure you're in the admin area of your local host. This is where we want to be. We want to jump over to Tools, Migrate DB. Over here, we're going to select Push. And we're going to paste in that connection info that we copied over. You don't need to change anything here. It automatically takes care of everything for you. And we can just migrate the DB. Just going to quickly go through and push all the posts. And this will probably take around 15 minutes or so for a full site build. I only did 100 posts, so it's running real quick. Only took about 16 seconds. But if we go back over to our main site now, to our live site, and if we go to the main URL, if we just visit the home page, we'll notice now that all my posts have been pushed over. And if we want to log into that WP admin, the username and password that we're going to use is the same username and password that you use to go into your local host, whatever it is that you set that up. If you happen to have forgotten what that is, it's no big deal. You can go through cPanel. You can go to phpMyAdmin. Find the database you just created, which was the site one. Go to users, and it's going to show you right there what the username is, and it's not going to show you the password, but if you need to create a new one, you can just hit on edit, change this password out, this one right here, and just make sure you select MD5 before you hit go. So the same way that we changed the username and password in the previous video. Now at this point your site is live, but you've got your local, let's go ahead and close out these tabs so it doesn't get confusing. Your site is live on your main host, but then your local host is actually full of these posts. You want to almost wipe it out, start fresh. So the easiest way to do that is you can go ahead and go to dashboard. If you like to keep your shaker page, or if you already have pages in there like legal pages or anything like that, make sure you first go to tools, export, and let's say that the shaker page that I'm using is a neat template that I can, I like to keep it so that I can just kind of work off of it and just change the niche that I'm going after. But so I'm going to keep my shaker page. I'm going to download this export file. I want to make sure that I put it in a safe place. I'm just going to leave it in downloads, but just make sure you know where you put that. And then I'm going to go down here to click the little icon. I want to go to phpMyAdmin. I'm going to look for the local install, and I'm going to select a few different data tables here. I want post meta, post, terms, term relationships, and term taxonomy. So it's 5 different tables that I'm selecting. Just to hit the little checkbox next to them. Then I scroll down and it says with selected I want to empty. I don't want to drop, I just want to empty. If you do that, hit yes, and then if we go back over to our local host and we hit on post, we'll notice that it's a nice empty installation. All the pages are gone, or the posts are gone, and then but also my shaker page is gone. The shortcodes are still there. If you notice, shortcodes are still there, but my page is gone, so I lost my template page. To bring it back, we go to tools, import, WordPress. I might ask you to install this little helper plugin. That's completely normal. Let me try that again, WordPress. And hit install now. Activate and run importing. We can choose that file, and we're looking for, I put it in the downloads folder, this XML file, upload file, and import. You don't have to choose anything, just hit submit. And notice that now if I go to shaker pages, my template page is right back there. So basically you can do that every time. As soon as you make your site live, you come back and empty it out, and you can start from scratch and just repeat the process over and over again.